Mm.
Today is a strange day, like the computer crashed before. Actually, it's looking good in the preview. So then let's start.
Is it?
Hi, Pia.
Hi.
Pauline.
Hi. Yeah. Can I start?
Yes, you can.
Okay. It's strange if you're suddenly talking from the other side. So, hi, welcome to Sparta, also from my side. Hey, from Quarantine. Kind of trying to imitate the Sparta room with having plants in the back. I hope it feels like I'm sitting in the Sparta room too. Yeah, our guest today is Pauline Curnier Jardin. And we are very happy to have her here with us today because we've been waiting for quite some time to finally make this talk happen. And today is the day, and I'm very much looking forward. Maybe some of you might be familiar with her work because she had a big show in Hamburger Bahnhof in Berlin called Fat to Ashes some time ago. And also an amazing work that I personally saw at HKW last year. So yeah, I'm very curious what we're going to see today.
Yeah, with that being said, I hand over to you and start the presentation mode.
To me. Hello. I hope you hear me well. Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be invited by Sparta, and I must tell you that it's going to be a messy presentation, not because of the day. The day indeed was complicated with technology, like for Sparta and for me, but because in general my work is very layered and dense. That said, I have put some ideas in a text that I'm going to read to you. It's rather short. And after that, we will enter together in a maze of digression, regression, progression, procession, passion, and etc. Yeah. I studied theater, performance and dance theory and history, in the same way I studied visual art and filmmaking, first by practicing it. Comic troopers, bearded woman, tamer of the jumping bean. When interrogated about how I got to do art and what my artistic motivation is while I was still a student, my mind always wandered to the fair and the carnival, to the freak show of character, to a gallery of spaces, substances, and stories. Today, I still relate to my practice through personas, through the embodiment and animation of concepts and feelings, through the Rabelaisian spectacle that lets myth come to life and fact melt to forms. And then I pursued my belief in the power of cosmogonies, and I started to improvise with the world and its social realities, very often unbearable. And the grotesque and the primitive that is encapsulated in every motion of our life is always ready to explode. And this is what I want to reveal. So, let's start with an explosion of joy. And let's watch the whole film called Explosion My Baby, which I have chosen to show you today because this has been really a turn in my practice. And when I say a turn is that, artists have different turns and tracks and trajectory in their life and in their practice. And this particular work is not only a work, it's actually 10 years of devotion to a place and to a celebration. So I let you watch it and then we come back together. So please still Explosion My Baby. It's 8 minutes or 9. Hello. So it's not only I don't see you, but also I cannot see the video. So I really feel like I am a ghost. Yeah, happy I have, I'm wearing my cyborg jacket. So I was telling you that it was a turn in my practice. Why? Because actually, I discovered this celebration in the south of Europe. I'm keeping the place secret since now 12 years. And that has become, that has started a process of two things. Or on one side, sort of anthropological practice, let's say. I mean, I wouldn't dare saying that, but it is the same type of practice, in the sense that I have started to list procession in the south, in Catholic, in European, in Catholic Europe, so mainly south of Italy and Mediterranean islands, and a bit in Spain and in south of France. So I started to list it procession that could reach this intensity, the intensity that you have seen in the film. Oops, well, okay. So in this film, my interpretation of this film is a form of cult of fertility, where, as you have seen, no women are invited. But men are there, but also the saint patron that this celebration Hello? Yes, of course. So I was telling you the fact that this explosion, my baby, is appeared to me like a cult of fertility, where only men were allowed actually to celebrate the presence or the birth of some babies that they would offer to the saint patron of this village, who is Saint Sebastian. Saint Sebastian is known in the art history as the first homoerotic martyr. And so I have loved immediately the fact that there was this fertility cult given to an homoerotic figure by men who were celebrating not only their fatherhood, or that, or let's say in broader sense, their patriarchal potential in such a joyful, in such a entire and direct way. And I started to film this, but it's not only filming. It's filming. It means being there on the 10th of August at 1 o'clock under crazy sun on this island. It's on an island, which actually is quite it's quite a thing. And I not only filmed this, I also brought my own children to this and made them participate to this pagan / Catholic ritual. And when I finally decided to edit the images, like you have seen, which was 6 years after I discovered it and went there every year, I knew that somehow I was cutting, something will end by the fact that I have done the film, making a piece out of the footage is collected. So, but I wasn't ready to leave this place of devotion. And then I immediately thought of a scenario that is a fiction. So when I said first that this film actually like started to divide my practice into one side, sort of more documentary and anthropological practice, and another one that is completely fictional and cinematographic. And actually, since 2016, I am following this double practice. And just by saying you that, I must tell you, because most of you probably are students, that I have done two schools at the same time. I have made two schools at the same time. One design school that were really focusing on form, on aesthetic, and I've made a final school that were at this time extremely focused only on conceptual, in conceptual and theoretical content. So probably because I started already with this sort of I don't know, duality in the practice, I still 20 years after continue this this double track. So yeah, this this duality. So now I'm going to try to go and navigate between fiction and documentary, but you will see as well that sometimes I am completely mixing it. So when I said that I didn't want to leave this place while I have finished to make the movie, I actually invented this story. I invented the story of Giorgetto. You know, I thought, okay, now I'm going to make a fiction film, a feature film for cinema, because this is one of my dreams. And I started to imagine that the one young man who is one of the carrier in the procession, and who is the son of the master of ceremony of this procession, I started to imagine his history, and I imagine that he is a guy who is absolutely sure that he is infertile, that he cannot have children. At the same time, he's really grown up with this idea that you become a man by being a father. And he started to have a lot of different obsessions. One being an all obsession with women, and one more very specific is that he started to see the old ladies, that is in traditional South European cultures, very like the caretaker, the grandmothers, for example. He started to see them bleeding while they don't have their menstruation anymore. So he started to have this hallucination of these old women bleeding, and so on and so on. And okay, and among all this sort of schizophrenic character, he is poor, and he wants money because he's DJ and is not making enough money to live outside of his parents' house. And from this precarity and this complex infertility, and also a lot of sexual trauma from his teenagehood, he decides that he will become himself Saint Sebastian, you know, and that one day, or like next year, next procession, he will substitute himself to the Saint Sebastian. And he will substitute to Saint Sebastian, and then he will have all the money, but also all the babies for himself. And that, of course, is not it doesn't work. And he's falling from the canopy that you have seen, and he died in a blood bath. So this story, I have I have decided to perform it. I also, when I was a student, something that I was, what my main practice was to perform the script of the impossible film I wanted to make. So I was on stage with a lot of props. I would sing, I would show some images, I would act, and I would build up in front of the audience a filmic scenario, a filmic script. And this is something that 15 years later, with this piece that you see now, the pictures, you see me with a great wig, having Cher as one of my models. I made this this 1 hour 15 this 1 hour performance about the story of Giorgetto. And I had performed it in a church, but in a Reformed church. So you probably know that in Reformed church, iconography is not really present except abstract painting, but also all kind of vernacular spectacle could happen. And in this Reformed church, which is in Amsterdam, they have an amazing little theater. So I performed in the theater of the church, and I drag the whole audience to reenact the procession you have just seen in the film. And now, Till, please, let's watch the trailer of this performance. The sound is not very good, and it's a trailer, so it's very short, but at least you can have a bit the spirit of it. So sorry, it's the one called no. It's the one called Sebastiano Blue, but the performance trailer, not the okay.
And Giorgetto has a plan. He will substitute the statue of Saint Sebastian this afternoon and gets everything for himself. All the babies, all the money, and yes, it's 1 p.m. Yes, explosion. Screams, hey! Yes, like, yes. So I need everyone, stand up, please. This is happening now.
Okay, I'm here. So this is how also I started to be very much interested by old women. Actually, it's not true because I've been always fascinated by old women. Also because I had quite a grandmother, I must say, and that I also filmed a long time ago, and that I'm very inspired. But whatever, this very personal story with a grandmother, I just find out that the old women, and then especially the menopause woman, has something mysterious for me, who is not yet menopause, but who will one day. And I started to investigate on what is the sexuality of menopaused women. And I also started to speculate on the fact that the old women were actually out of market of sex, out of market of heterosexual sex somehow, but also out of market in the sense that you cannot sell any more cosmetic product, whatever, like underwear or cars, etc. And you're not anymore the subject of gaze in the street, etc. So it has something quite mysterious, but also very exciting. And I started to interrogate friends of mine and made some interviews about menopause. And I made a series of different works, like from sculptural work, like this one that you see, which is called Peau de Dame. Peau de Dame could be translated by lady skin. So you see, I was invited to make a work in the villa where Jean Cocteau, maybe some of you are familiar with Jean Cocteau, was a poet, a filmmaker, an amazing drawer, and a figure of the mid 20th century. And he was living there with his lover and a very rich woman, and who was kind of it was a sort of ménage à trois. And Cocteau had his young lover, and she was there, and probably I don't know what what I want to say is that there was something that I found quite intriguing in this, in the fact that Jean Cocteau, in the house of this rich woman, covered the whole walls. You can see it on the left side, the beautiful drawings. He covered the whole walls of beautiful men. So on a sort of fantasy, on a pure gay fantasy that she probably also enjoyed herself by the fact that she loved men herself as well. But anyway, like as a response to this setup, I imagine these skins of old ladies that would invite the space, like if it was a group of friends who would take an Airbnb, you know, and would just like spread their whole old bodies onto the furnitures of this grande bourgeoise lady. And by this idea, I created the first Peau de Dame. And then the Peau de Dame became like, I actually, how do you say? I multiplied them in different other installation and other setup. So you see now the one in the swimming pool and the other one on a black wall in an installation where I confronted the different things, some of the Peau de Dame, and as you can see in this mirror that is a muscle with an eye, you see the reflection of an installation. You see here now with an armchair. I don't know if it's, I hope it's not. I know you have a big screen. I have a small one, but you see here this armchair. And on this armchair, it's a video installation with a sort of like little stage. You see like a little theater, like a foldable theater. You see this very old lady making a sort of cheap cabaret scenery. She's actually dancing with her armchair, which is an handicapped, which is like a rope, how do you say, like electric armchair that is moving whoop from the floor and lifting her up, and then and so on. So the film is about the armchair and this woman who has difficulties to walk and also difficulties to talk, difficulties to sing. So voilà, that was another work on an old woman whom I love very much. and then the Pot de Dame again are now in a sort of more city situation. You can recognize a car. I mean, if you can, I can tell you it's a car on the right side. And you see the lamp, the public lamp, you know, this design. Until this Pot de Dame came back again in later in a big installation where I presented the film that is probably the most cinematographic I have achieved or I managed to make, which is 1500 Impur, which was presented at the Hamburger Bahnhof in Berlin in 2019 while I was nominated for the Preis der Nationalgalerie. So I'm jumping because now I also showed Explosion My Baby in this show at the Hamburger Bahnhof. Up. Voilà. So, yes. It's a very disgusting portfolio with a big, sorry. Ah, voilà, okay. Here we go. So, again, about the old woman, I have pushed this idea of Giorgetto, who has these visions of women bleeding while they should not. And I pushed it in this film called 1500 Impur, that has nothing to do with the context of procession of the Catholic scenery and background, etc. But what I have extracted from Giorgetto's story is this menopause woman bleeding again. And from this vision, which is the vision of my hero, I wrote 1500 Impur, which is a sort of menopause revenge movie. Maybe some of you have seen it, I don't know, where women are killing young, beautiful men with the blood of their phantom, of their Geist blood. So we can watch a little extract of 1500 Impur. I must also tell you that it's not only this vision that I have developed into a film, it's also, this film, a loose remake of an absolutely fantastic film by Jean Genet. Jean Genet being an incredible, we call in French, they call even like Saint Jean Genet. Jean Genet being an incredible, beautiful figure, a poet and a writer, but also an incredible activist. I mean, with an amazing way of being politic. And he has done only one film that is a diamond that I encourage you to see because it's on YouTube, and it's called Un Chant d'Amour. And Un Chant d'Amour is a film made in 1952 that has been censored immediately because it showed the relation between two men inmates, and it's extremely erotic. It's an extremely erotic movie and also really beautiful. And then I don't know how, but I dare making a remake of this masterpiece, but by using or by directing women over 60. But what was fantastic is that directing them, it wasn't really directing. We took the film of Jean Genet, and that was our score. So I asked to each of the women to choose the actions, the movements, like if it was a dance, they would like to reinterpret it in their cell, because we filmed it in a jail. We filmed it in a jail in Berlin, in a prison, in a prison in Berlin. Also very interesting, this prison that is in the former DDR, was a prison that was used by the Nazi, but also by the Stasi. So, and all the women performing all German were also like very attached to this history by being over 60 and by being this generation. So it was like there was many layers of some sort of exorcism of this place, but also of showing and representing the sexuality of old women. So let's watch the extract. And later, if it's, for example, I said to Till before, if it's a film you want to see later, I'm super happy to share the link. So Till, please, can you play Ausgeblutet? Voilà. Cool.
Ich hoffe, euch schmeckt mein Kuchen. Haben wir die kleine Kiste und denken immer, ohne die kleine Kiste könnte ja gar nichts sein und wir müssen es immer dabei haben, wenn sie weg ist.
Okay. So, yeah. So now you have seen a little bit also the, I don't know, the style of it. And you can see it. Pardon. Oui. Okay. Yeah, I was just saying that now you've seen a bit the texture of this film that is actually quite different than the one we watched before. And I cannot explain why, but I have been always exploring different materiality or texture, you know. And I think for every of my films, and I have done, I don't know, maybe 17 since 20 years, almost one per year. I always think a different technique for every film I am making. And I'm thinking a technique that is link deeply with the content of the film. That said, I cannot tell you why I have filmed in HD this film and not another one, not the other. I mean, I could tell you why I have filmed the processions in Super 8, and simply because it's a very performative way of filming. You know, you have 3 minutes, it's always broken. You have the camera extremely close to your moves and to your to somehow to something that could show your own emotion and your own subjectivity. And so I wanted to show you that this film that I showed at the Hamburger Bahnhof, I showed it in an installation that was gathering the Peau de Dame, you know, and this film, and a forest. It was also a moment where I started to work with by recycling theater setup that I would look for. Actually, in France, there is a place where they, for ecological and also economical reason, they recycle theater and opera setup, which is amazing, because you imagine when you make a setup for a theater piece or an opera piece, there is usually quite a good money in it. And then if the piece is not touring, you have to destroy everything, or you have to put everything in a storage, but you're never sure that it's going to be used, and so on. And then I have found the trees that you see now. It was used in I don't know, actually. I don't know where this comes from, and I don't really bother. I just found this forest extremely beautiful. And I have installed it here in this room. And I have asked another painter, theater painter, I mean, someone who is specialized in painting for theater, to continue the bit, you know, the bit I had found. And it's her name, Marine, she actually reinterprets the following part that you see. And there I have created the hot flashes forest. So you're probably too young to know what is a hot flashes, but when you got menopause, you start to have what is called hot flashes. I don't know how you say in German, but it's like you have a lot of hot flashes. So like some sort of wave of hits that takes your body. And I call this forest the hot flashes forest, where my lady skin, always the same crew, right, just are spreading their skin all over. And through the trees, you can see Quinçon Impur, the film with the women in jail. And I also draw and engrave in some benches that a guy in Brandenburg is making as a hobby. I found, and then I bought him his benches and started to engrave, and in this style of like, I don't know, rural countryside bench. And so voila. So I hope and I think with these pictures you can imagine a bit of space. And what with this show, that with this film and this installation, I won the Prize National Gallery. That is another turn, of course, in my life. But at the same time, without, before knowing that I will have this amazing prize, I actually, to pursue my anthropological research, I moved to Italy. I moved to Rome. I moved to Rome with the idea that I will really collect this procession. And I went there with a list of 20 processions that all had let's say, a quite strong sexual content, and because there are a lot. And I thought I will film that, but I mean, more than filming was not really what I was interested the most. It was experiencing those physically, those procession, in order to write my feature film with Giorgetto, you know, the same one, because I still want to make one day this film with Giorgetto, and for that I still think, but now with COVID everything is kaput, everything is collapsed. But at this time I thought, okay, I have like an anthropologist, I'm gonna have to see all the processions and learn Italian and go into text and so on. I also at this time, actually in 2017, started to join a choir that is specialized in the repertoire, in the liturgical repertoire from South Italy. So all the songs that are sung during those processions. And I started to do that in Berlin, because in Berlin there is an amazing choir that is teaching this repertoire. And then I moved to Italy, to Rome, where I joined another choir, like the Matrix choir actually, and so on, with a plan of filming all those processions. And then COVID, of course, stopped the whole process. But before stopping me in my great motion, in my great anthropological motion, I had the time to film at least 3 rituals, which is the slaughter of a pig, which is not a procession, which is not a carnival, which is not a celebration, but which is a very rural, normal thing. At least I don't think it's done anymore in Germany. So like 50 years ago, I think you could still kill the pig in countryside. But for example, I know that in France, in Montaigne, and in Italy, and as well as in Spain, in Portugal, you still do it, even though it's not allowed, whatever. I wanted to film that since a long time, and I filmed this, and I filmed another procession that is very dear to me, which is Santa Agata. So Santa Agata being another martyr, with a woman martyr this time, who has her breast cut because she refused to marry to a Roman Empire, Quintus, whatever. And the third being the Carnival in Köln. So I wanted to, and this is the content of the film I have showed in the Hamburger Bahnhof again, as the Preiser National Gallery show. And for qu'est-ce que je veux dire? Don't look, sorry. Stupid. Sorry. Close your eyes. Okay. Sorry, I had also a technical problem before. So, yes, here we go. I wanted to start with this very iconic image. We're going to watch. Voila. Okay. So, Fat to Ashes, which is a film that is combining the slaughter of a pig, Santa Agata, and the Köln Carnival, is presented in this arena that looks like a cake. And maybe we can watch a short extract of Fat to Ashes that I think you got. It's very short, it's 30 seconds, but what can I say? You will get with these 30 seconds a bit the core of the film. That is, in generally speaking, it's quite an abstract film. It is not narrative, but it's really a film. It's really an editing film. I mean, un film de montage. I mean by that the main form is the editing. And because I just started with this intuition that there is a link between the Köln Carnival, Agatha procession, and the killing of a pig. And if there is a link that can be articulated like that, it's probably the excess and the a form of excess, but also the violence, but also the erotic charge that actually exists in those wild European celebration. And what I wanted to say with this film is that we are not less white than other culture. I mean, it's a bit naive said like that, but if we look at our own way of celebrating things and entertaining, the very archaic forms are an absolute violence. And it's a violence onto body of women or body of minorities. And this is actually engraved in the Christian culture. So let's watch this extract. Change the lights.
È crudele tiranno! Non ti vergogni di strappare a una donna quello che tu stesso sughiasti da tua madre!
Okay, so voilà. Again, if you want to see the film entirely, it's my pleasure to share it with you. But I needed to show you a bit of it also to explain why I have chosen to make this such a big monumental installation. At the same time, and I think it's important to say, you don't have really the choice. This place is gigantic. The Hamburger Bahnhof is a former station. And also somehow this Preise National Gallery is always, it's somehow pushing you to a very big spectacle. And to that, I replied by an extremely big spectacle, which was using one of the first architecture of spectacle, which is Roman arena. And Roman arena were made for one of the very first, very archaic spectacle, which was gladiator killing each other. And those spectacle of death were actually very popular and made also for the people, so the one who were not on battlefield, to somehow have the feeling of their own patry, of their own country fighting, or they're actually in the case of the Roman Empire, of the Roman Empire itself fighting outside and getting more territory, and like that colonizing Europe. If we take Roman Empire, it's really like the very first form of fascism, and so this architecture is at the same time terrible and at the same time extremely fascinating. And in this film, as well, and in my work in general, I need to combine the disgusting and the fascinating, because I think it's part of life. Because I think we are not angel, and that makes also life alive. And inside this arena, this not cookie, but it's sort of marzipan arena, you can see some details. The there was like a different way to get through it. You find yourself in a sort of very glamorous red and pink satin setup that was for me was a reminiscence of musical, but also that I wanted it very much like a brothel. So there was this almost aggressive thing in it. And the roof was made by two, some details, voilà, by two parachutes, pink parachutes, who were representing also the breast of Agatha. But we know also that, you don't know, but the incredible thing with this procession of Agatha and this tradition is that the breasts of Agatha are actually sort of transposed or like displayed, transferred into a cake that you eat a lot in Sicily, where the procession is, an extremely sweet and amazing, tasty cake that has the shape of the breast. So this idea of like the object, the castration of these women becoming a source of joy and a source of sugar or power and pleasure, I found it quite fascinating. Qu'est-ce que je voulais dire? Voilà. Alors, so I have to breathe. It's a lot because I'm not there yet. Because I told you that that was in 2020, and then I had to abandon my big anthropological film, visual anthropological film project, but managed to make this Fat to Ashes. Fat to Ashes, you might have understood, is fat because the carnival starts with Fat Thursday and ends up with Ash Wednesday. So Fats to Ashes. That's the title. I also decided. Non, qu'est-ce que je voulais dire? Voilà. I also decided to show in this big solo exhibition, which was my first biggest of my life, to show another work that I have done during the 2020, which is, let's say, another radical turn in my practice, because the pandemic, I guess, for everyone has been sort of a turn down more than a turn up, of course. I guess. I mean, I wish not, but it's like that. But I was in Rome at this time, and I was in a residency, like in this French academy. This is the equivalent, maybe you know, of Villa Massimo. That's a German equivalent of the one I have done, which was a French one. And this residency, they have it's very bizarre. It's sort of like a colonial structure, it's a bit like the pavilion in Venice, if you know about Venice biennial structure. Everyone has his pavilion in Venice, but I mean everyone, not everyone. The empire has their pavilion. So you have a British pavilion, the German pavilion, the French pavilion. That's the three main like that. And then after you have like smaller pavilion until you have outside pavilion of Hong Kong pavilion, or I don't know, Georgia pavilion, etc. So it's really super hierarchical. And in Rome, you have a bit the reproduction of this with the academy. So you have the German academy, the French academy, the British academy, the American academy. Voilà. Just to tell you this context, because it has been quite important in this turn, in this twist that I have done in my practice at this time. Because this is something I haven't mentioned, but it's true that, I must recognize that I'm always working with the context in which I am. Well, it's not that I am defending it, but it's stronger than me. I have to. And during the pandemic, I was in this French academy, and they wanted to have a show, an exhibition, while it was confinement. It was very confusing. They absolutely wanted to make an exhibition while the whole country was completely locked down, because in Germany it wasn't like in Italy. In Italy there was like militaries outside, and you couldn't leave your home. It was really intense. And I decided to accept to do the show, also because there was money, and I thought that I would change the modus. I would change the modality of making work and also using institutional money. And I decided to ask, after I saw Pasolini film Mamma Roma. Also, I recommend you any kind of Pasolini films if you if you like if you like cinema and literature. So after have seen Mamma Roma, who is really about a woman who is struggling with her kid actually, and had to prostitute herself in order to make her life possible, because she's poor. And after have seen this film, and also knowing that Rome has really much the figure of the prostitute as a core figure, I decided to ask sex workers to produce the show. And how? By drawing their work, and that I would pay the price of the sexual performance. So I actually, like a client would come and see the prostitute and ask me, draw me a blowjob, and I will pay you the price of the blowjob. So that was a conceptual idea first. Also thinking in this place, this French academy, where actually only women are accepted since 50 years, but also where the prostitute has been a lot, because they were the models, and they were also like paid by the resident at this time to give joy and sex. That would be a great thing to invite them in the academy to, just to exist, and just to exist there in another way than just sex working. But it was just a theory, it was conceptual first. I was happy about my idea, it was radical, etc. But then I had to really meet them. And I have been really extremely lucky, but because I met one fantastic person who is an urbanist, and who worked since 6 years with sex workers by trying to redefine the contour of the city of Rome by the move of sex workers, because sex workers are not allowed. So it's also very different than in Germany, where it's really much more, but they are protected. Protected, yes, or at least they are in the social system, and they also have places where they can work. They are allowed. In Italy, it's more like they are into streets. Everybody knows about it. But one day, if the police is coming and arrest everyone, they all go to jail. They all have to pay a lot of money. Just to say that Serena Allqueer, this researcher, urbanist researcher, I've been working with them on this subject since long time, and she introduced me to Alexandra. Where is Alexandra? Voilà, no. Try to find Alexandra. Voilà. Okay, up. I'm going too fast. So Alexandra is Colombian. She's also. Attendez, voilà, hop. This is the crew. So she introduced me to Alexandra. Alexandra is in the middle, and Alexandra is photographer and graphic designer, but working only with sex workers. So she would make a portfolio for escort girls, and also taking all kind of explicit photograph for professional use of sex workers. And Alexandra is Colombian and also trans, and she immediately loved the project and invited the others that you can see, Juliana, Gilda, Andrea, and then in the middle you see me and Serena, who's got a mask. And so we started to organize at Alexandra's place drawing workshop, and because we had a lot of fun, we made more than just like one drawing. They made a lot of drawings, and those drawings are like that. You have one here, and you have. That's what I wanted to show you before. Tac. Voila, you have some here. And in those drawings, you have fantastic, fantastic. It's also hard. It's actually very hard. But you have these bits of the reality of sex working, like here. You can see the client is watching around, to see if he's got like some money in his hands. She has her little bag and is grabbing her arm to get the money. And this drawing is called before, and the drawing next to it is called after. And you see that suddenly it's like the action is on. And but some other drawings were more romantic. This is Alexandra Mapuchina, and for example, Alexandra is not working anymore as a sex worker, and she also went in a different representation. Voilà, it's to show you some of the drawings. And so we started this cooperative called Feel Good by thinking that I will introduce their drawings in the art market. Well, so far it's not really successful, but I hope one day. And we will divide the sale between all of them. And we co-sign the drawing. And the question of co-signing, why co-signing and not just being feel-good cooperative, is because for this type of work, my name is, at least at the beginning, my name is a guarantee, to access to the market. And we will see later if it works, if we find a market that doesn't need my name. Anyway, it's just to explain you which kind of politics we have now in this cooperative. And then in Hamburger Bahnhof, I decided to show their work and make some sculptural installation on the pillars of the building. Pillars that reminds me the pillars of martyr, martyr being tortured or executed it on pillars like Saint Sebastian, like Jesus. Jesus is on the crucifix, but it's always this architectural, piece behind any martyr. But I also made a sound installation that was the sound of a street and some high hills, clack, 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 and some smoke. So really like if someone was waiting for a client. And I mixed these drawings and the sound with this big, beautiful candle that you can see here. And all those candles are the traditional candles used for Santa Agata processions in Catania. So it was also for me the link with an actual, a factual, artisanal object made for the procession of Agata. And believe me or not, all the candles has been blessed by the priests in Catania before they've been shipped to the Hamburg Urbano. So, but the priest didn't know that these blessed candles will be mixed with like some pornographic sex workers' drawings. But voilà. So now you see a little bit the whole installation, and maybe I will actually end this presentation with the work, because it went so well, or it goes so well with the cooperative. It's fantastic people, and I also discovered, I don't know, another, as I told you, another modus, another modality, and suddenly sharing this different expertise, but loving somehow a lot, sharing somehow the love for certain texture. I don't know, the question of the body, of the representation of the body, of sexuality, but also a very strong humor in their drawing and in their way of being, I must say, despite the super tough daily life and despite their trajectory that is for all of them extremely hard, not only as trans, but also as migrants in Europe. We made another piece that is a film that you have seen, Pia, at the Haus der Kulturen der Welt, the HKW, last September. It's a film called Fireflies, and Fireflies is Fireflies is a film made with the same cooperative called Feel Good Cooperative. And we actually went to film in the outskirts of Rome in some very iconic places for the Italian cinema, but an Italian cinema actually have been always represented prostitute. So again, I dare going in the place where everybody before films prostitute, and me as a friend and as a woman was like, okay, no, let's do it. Which is also like something, like why representing them in the place where we always represent them, why repeating the cliche and the caricature of this. I mean, it's a question. It can be a question, but I don't know. My way of seeing is that I prefer taking the cliche like entirely and fully and enjoying it as well, and trying to find a transformation inside the caricatural and stereotypal and archetypal place. And it's anyway something that I am doing in my work in general. So like really going for the stereotypical, for the archetype, and from there transforming it. because you cannot do anything against this. It's a reality also. It's a reality of their life. It's their work, and they're quite proud also of a lot of things, and actually they are proud of every aspect of it. So that's it. And I have now I show you this backstage, like shooting pictures, but don't worry. Don't worry. There is not such a pornographic picture in my film, but this is like the great backstage picture. Let's watch it. It's 7 minutes. It's called Fireflies, and it's called Fireflies because in Italian, this is the way you call. It's a nice way to design prostitutes. Fireflies in German, it's glue. No, what is it? Glühwurm? No, how do you say? I don't know. You know, this insect that in May, from the 10th of May till mid-June, they are blinking in fields. The male is blinking in order to attract the female. And in Italian, you design prostitutes by fireflies because they are this creature of light appearing in the night. So let's watch it as a last.
Yeah, I would suggest like watching it, and then we make the break, and then go directly into the Q&A because it's already.
Yeah, it's late.
All right.
Or maybe we go to the Q&A and then we watch it.
Oh, let's watch it here. Let's watch it and then make the break. Then. Okay. Starting now. All right, that was it. Thank you so much. And applause here from the room. Let's do a 12-minute break. So then we can start at 20:50. And so then we can start with the Q&A, because we have a lot of people here in the room, but also some internet audience. Oh, you can't hear me? Or you're muted. Okay.
Can we make a shorter break, because it's very late also? I mean, I sorry to. Can we make a little bit shorter, just because?
Yeah,
it's
or we can say we go, but I think everybody needs a break, right? So let's say 7 minutes. So at
cool. It's like a cigarette and a bath.
All right. Yes. Toilet break, cigarette break. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you, and see you soon.
Okay. See you in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.